Hi, my name is Frank J. Garcia, and this is my lesson plan for parts of a cell. My apologies in advance. I'm a little under the weather, so I might sound a little muffled at some points. Cell, the smallest structural and functional unit of an organism. In this section, you will learn about the many pieces that make up a plant and animal cells. With each new piece comes a purpose of that piece. Remember, every piece of a cell has a job. Some key questions to ask in this lesson are: where can you find cells? What are the differences between plants and animal cells? Let's jump right in. The types of cells, we have plant and animal cells. Right away, from looking at the two, you can see that there are some differences already. Think of the two cells as for this lesson. I would like you to think of the cells as factories, where everything serves a purpose in that factory. You can already learning about the two individual cells. It will help you understand the two. Starting from the outside in, the cell wall. Right away, we have something that the plant cell already has, and it has that is additional already has an additional layer that animal cells do not possess, called the cell wall. The cell wall gives the plant cell both support and structure. If it did not exist, the cell wall would burst every time the plant cell absorbs water. Think of this layer as a support beam of the factory that the plant cell is in. The cell membrane. The cell membrane surrounds both the plant and animal cell and its contents. It allows material to both enter and exit the cell. These can be thought of as like the doorways into the factory. Moving on from there, we have the nucleus. This section controls the cell and determines when it will replicate and what kind of cell it will be. Therefore, this determines whether it will be a plant cell, an animal cell, a specific type of animal cell such as skin cells, blood cells, tissue cells, and so on and so forth. Actually, skin cell and yeah. Sorry about that. This is more than just plant or animal cells that the. Oh, I already covered that part. Sorry, I'm still under the weather. The nucleus contains genetic code or DNA that makes the decisions in the cell. So it's not the nucleus itself, however, it is the DNA inside that makes these decisions. You can think of the nucleus as the control room of the factory that we're creating here, and the DNA being the operators in that room. From there, we will move on to the vacuoles. Now again, we see another difference between plant and animal cells. Here we the vacuole is a water storage for cells. As you can see, the plant cell requires a very large vacuole, whereas a animal cell could get away with two or more very small vacuoles. A way you could picture this in the factory is that picture the factory has a giant water tower to supply the entire factory, whereas the animal factory could get away with a few water coolers. From there, we have the chloroplast. Again, we have an additional piece that the plant cell has that the animal cell does not possess. In terms of the factory, the chloroplast can be thought of as solar panels in the factory. The purpose of the chloroplast is to turn solar energy into food for the plant. This is how plants get their food. They do not like us. Unlike us, we hunt and eat food, other living things to gain food. However, the plant absorbs energy and that creates food for it. So in terms of the factory again, you could think of the animal cell orders out to get food or brings in gasoline for power for the factory, whereas the plant cell has solar panels that create energy for the factory. From there, we move on to the mitochondria. The mitochondria is the mitochondria produces and reproduces energy that moves throughout the cell. Energy comes in, it redirects it and gives energy to the cell. As you can see, there is another difference between both plant and animal cells. Plant cells don't really require that much mitochondria. When you think of the mitochondria, it is something that comes up more in a animal cell. Now, a way you could think of this in terms of the factory, considering the plant cell has all those solar panels or the chloroplast, it requires less of a powerhouse inside the factory. Whereas an animal cell, considering it pumps in so much gasoline, it requires a lot more power sources or power plants. Lastly, we have the cytoplasm. The cytoplasm is that yellowish stuff that yellow stuff that you see on your screen. It is a gel that suspends all the pieces of the cell and keeps them in their place and also keeps them regulated as they are in there. A way you could think of the cytoplasm inside the cell is that it's kind of a barrier between these areas of the room, so you could think of them as additional walls. And that's the parts of the cell. As you can see here, the animal cell doesn't really have that many differences from the two that they had together. However, the plant cell contains additional parts such as the chloroplast and the cell wall. Thank you for watching. I hope you liked this.